Zane here, and another lesson from social isolation land for this COVID-19 crisis, and I'm going to do it on picking. A couple of people have sent through some messages recently about how do they improve their picking, so I thought, well, I'll do a lesson on it. So when I'm playing most of the time, I don't alternate pick everything I play. I use a lot of slurs, but let's just look at picking in general. I use a blue chip guitar pick. This is a blue chip CT55. Now they're not cheap and they are quite large. I swear by them. I love them. Try them out. It doesn't really matter what pick you use, but I find that this has really helped my picking just for clarity and precision. The most important thing I think with picking is how you hold the pick and how your hand, whether it's your right hand or your left hand, rests on the guitar. Now, a lot of people have very individual ways of doing this. George Benson has a unique picking style. Pat Metheny has a very unorthodox one. Sean Lane, you name it. And I've experimented with lots of different ways. For a while, when I was a teenager, I tried the up pick method of Sean Lane. It just didn't work for me. I tend to hold my pick as if I was holding a pen. So my hand position is like that. On the side. And I usually try and have it so that the pick, the distance from the edge of my thumb to the edge of the pick is probably just under a centimetre. Any closer and I find that I start to hit with the edge of my thumb, unless of course I don't want to do a pinch harmonic. And any further away I don't feel like I've got the control on it. So I tend to have that. I try to keep my forearm, my hand and my wrist as flat as possible. I take that down and then I rest on the bridge of the guitar. I should say this is different to the picking technique I use for flat picking or bluegrass guitar playing. That's different. I can do a video on that specifically, but this is just electric guitar playing. So I rest on the bridge. When I'm resting on the bridge, I'm not fixed. I think of the bridge as almost being like train tracks and my hand or a camera dolly. My hand moves wherever it needs to. I have a slight angle down, so I'm not level with the guitar. I want my hand to just sort of sit on the bout where the paint's wearing away on the edge of my guitar. And I have my pinky extended, and that is just a further stabilizer. So I keep my hand here, and then what I try and do is I try to be parallel with whatever string I'm playing. So if I'm playing the low E string, my hand position's here. If I'm playing the high E string, I move. And I've got that freedom of movement. I'm not locked in. If you stay fixed in one area and then you've got to go to the high E string, you're going to be playing on a weird angle. That angle is going to hurt your wrist, it's going to inflame your tendons, and it's going to give you that horrible scratchy sound because too much surface of the pick is going across the string rather than just a clean hit. Once you've got that, it sort of is good to look at your entire posture and technique. You don't want to have your arm, your shoulder raised or your arm pulled back. I just think of it as very much being like, if my guitar was a bar table and I was at a bar, I would just rest my arm and I'm just going to stabilize my guitar. It's like I'm resting my arm and gravity is doing its bit. I'm not holding it in place. I'm not doing anything. It is just gravity. So I use that to my advantage. If you're going to try and play really fast, particularly for long periods of time, it's all about conservation of energy and making sure that you're resourceful with that energy. Nothing gets wasted. It's all got to go on playing with a feather touch, really light. So with that in mind, then what I do, I get my pick. A couple exercises that I would suggest doing. Just put a metronome on, maybe something quite slow. It could be 60 beats a minute. So let me look at my second hand. That's about 60. And what I tend to do is I keep the metronome at that tempo. I pick a string and then I do different rhythmic combinations. So I'm just going to tap my foot and I just start by doing crotches and I want to get a really clean down and up pluck. Now what I'm looking for with this is I don't want to arrive on the string too early. Sometimes what happens is you'll hear people arrive at the string a millisecond beforehand and they get a click sound. So you get this. You want it to just be at the moment of the pluck, just bang. Really clean, a full, clean pick sound. decisive. And I do this, I did a video on stretching and warming up, so I would of course do all of that before I start any of this practice. Then I stop and I do, it's very similar to practicing when you see athletes work on sprinting or running. I build up to it. Then I might do triplets. Again, working on a relaxed, precise technique, just like that. I build it up so I get faster and faster. It might be like short bursts. Then also starting with an up, all the way through to, sixes and so forth. They're the things that I would encourage that you work on. And then once you've done that, I would do some left hand exercises as well, because really it's your left hand. Your picking hand is quite simple. It has two functions, either goes down or it goes up. It's your left hand that more often than not is going to be late to the party. So I think that there's probably more effort and more awareness needs to be placed on making sure your left hand is disciplined and is on time more than anything else. Because when you hear people who get splats and dead notes, usually it's a pluck note which is perfectly in time and a left hand that arrives late. So I will do some videos on a couple of left hand things that you can do. Again, I touch on it a little bit in the warming up video that I did a couple of weeks ago. But once you've got that, then I would practice also doing sprint things. So if I knock the tempo up a little bit, so I might have, and then I'll double it. With an up. And I do that for brief periods. Stop, stretch, then I might reset. Pick a different string. It doesn't have to be an open string, can we? And then gradually move it up so that I'm playing quite fast now. And what I'm looking for when I'm playing quite fast is not necessarily perfect accuracy. That will come as you gradually raise all your tempos that you're working on. It's that the feeling remains the same. I want the feeling that I play 60 beats per minute to be the same as when I'm playing 240 beats a minute. And that's just relaxed feather touch. And then of course, you can start putting that into scales. It could just be that. So forth, and pentatonic scales. I'll do a video on economy picking, which is the picking technique that I tend to use the most. When I'm on a single string, I will alternate pick, but I do use a lot of slurs. And then if I'm moving to another string, I sweep in the direction of that string based on the last pluck that I used. So that's why a lot of those jazz lines, it looks like my hand's very relaxed because I'm not plucking every note. And that's much harder on the left hand, those lines, than it is on the right hand. The right hand just has to be there at the exact moment to hit the correct note. So hopefully these suggestions and technical exercises help with your picking. We've got a lot of time at the moment to practice this at home. I would suggest just do this a few times a day. It only takes 10 minutes. If you're trying to do a concise version, just 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes in the evening. And it's all about consistency, making sure you're relaxed. There are no shortcuts, unfortunately, for this kind of stuff. You've got to be okay before you can be good, and good before you're great, and so forth. So you just got to sit there and practice, playing slowly. Working on or being aware of your breathing is really important. Often when we do things that require speed or are hard, we will hold our breath. And When we hold our breath, we deoxygenate our blood, which means oxygen doesn't get to our muscles and we start to tense up. And tension is going to be the enemy of this. So just being really relaxed. I treat it as like a meditation. Just making sure everything is smooth and connected and flowing. That's my thing. So catch you guys later.